Filip Baloš is one of our guests. He is a singer and songwriter. Obviously, you know him. But I'm so glad that you're here. Still, for the sake of, making an introduction,
Yes.
I need to ask, what's your role? I will label you as an ally, but you correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I choose to keep my private life private. Because I like to keep the narrative, and when I came into this world of public eye, people just started writing stuff that is untrue, true. So I just like to keep my private life for me, my family, my friends, my partner.
Go call.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's welcome Jonah Lamers. He is the face of the Transketeers, a filmmaker, trans.
Yes.
It's so nice to see you here finally, because you were also our guest, but virtually in the past. So how does it feel to be LGBT fighter in the Netherlands, which is definitely something we can't compare with the Balkans, but still, I will say, and you can correct me, there's still a lot to do, right? Even there.
Yes, absolutely. Being here and listening to the stories that I've heard today, I think I come from a place of huge privilege, and I'm very much aware of that. Indeed, the situation here in the Balkans, you cannot compare to the situation in the Netherlands. However, we are noticing a decline in acceptance as well. And I think that's right now a worldwide trend. So the fear that was described earlier, I think, is starting to become a little more palpable in the Netherlands as well, unfortunately. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Let's introduce two more guests of this panel. Yeah, let's welcome Kristina Ćetković. She's a writer and human rights activist from Montenegro. I have to ask you, you did sum it up a bit in the video, but still, how it is in Montenegro? Any different?
I think Montenegro is a little bit now leader in the region because we have, as you know, from 2 years ago, same-sex partnership law. So for me, being openly lesbian, I never really experienced any violence. And but what I said in this prime, it was all about LGBT community, persons with disabilities, youth, women, and media are not really into these topics. So that is some kind of situation in Montenegro.
Thanks, Kristina. And our last guest is Milica Crkvenjakov. Please join us. I'm sure you also recognize her as the face of Draga Devojčice, or Dear Girl, if I may translate it that way. It's nice to see you here as well. You also were part of BNMF in the past.
Yes.
So it's nice to see BNMF peers here. Since we didn't see your video, I would definitely like to ask you what's going on in your life. We do know a bit about Draga Devojčice, but I will let you introduce yourself and your project.
I was asked if we can reuse the same video from back then, but actually, right now I'm really trying to be less Draga Devojčice and more Milica. So most people who know me as the creator of Draga Devojčice, but I think that the work that I do working with youth, and especially with young women and with queer youth, is much more important than that. And it's something that I enjoy a lot and that I put a lot of my time to. So I think I would like to start changing the narrative a bit more from Draga Devojčice to other things that I do.
Thank you, Milica. As Jonah already mentioned, I was thinking about using the same argument or same introduction because it's the way it is. It's like black on white. In recent years, we are witnessing really a despicable rise of violence against LGBTQ community everywhere, meaning in the whole Europe. We witnessed two really crazy events in Oslo or in Bratislava, shootings and killings. And here in the Balkans, that's an everyday thing. I do want to ask you, maybe you can start, Jonah, because I live in Germany, you live in the Netherlands, so it is definitely different, but still you don't always feel safe. Why we are witnessing this? I'm not expecting you to have an explanation, but still, is there anything that you would point out as a reason why we are seeing more violence against LGBT people?
Yeah, I think, of course, a huge topic this weekend is media. And I think that because we have the whole world in our pocket right now, on our phone, we have access to a lot of media outlets, which is, on one side, fantastic, because we can find mutual, like-minded individuals or like-minded groups from all over the world and strengthen our bonds. I, for instance, wouldn't have, I think, found myself as fast if I didn't have YouTube and I didn't see stories of trans people telling their stories very openly and candidly, and I could think, hey, wait, I understand something there. So that's a beautiful part of social media or media in general. The downside is, of course, that also other voices are strengthened that are against LGBT people. And they can be very, very loud. Mm-hmm. And so, if you have a group in the United States that's very loud, and there's groups here that are like, hey, I agree with this, they also strengthen the bonds. And a lot of money goes around in that. And so there is definitely, you can really see an anti-gender propaganda ideology that's worldwide right now, targeting groups all over the place. So, and people, as was said before as well, that fall or are susceptible to those kinds of narratives, fall into those traps, and also the fake media, fake news traps. So that's an explanation of how it can go around like a fire. So there's a very positive side, otherwise we wouldn't be here, otherwise I wouldn't be here talking to you and with you, but yeah, there's also a huge threat that comes from that.
Filip, in Serbia it's different, but what's your experience? I hope you're not spending that much time on social media, that you're creating good music, but I'm sure that you're also seeing lots of bad stuff. What's your impression, like when you look around, why we are seeing more violence against LGBT?
Well, yes, there is a lot of hate. And I think it's mostly because of the way that people grew up here. Like in Yugoslavia, like being gay was very wrong and very bad. But I feel like we need more, more allies, more gay people in the media and everywhere, just to show that it is okay and it is, pretty normal. Twitter can be a really, really bad place to be. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I take a break, sometimes I come back and then I read. But I feel like nobody's really like a bad person. Nobody really wishes someone hate. But it's just the way that people grew up here, and I feel like we need to educate people more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Milica, your take. I just want to share one detail. I think it's interesting, since we're mentioning this phenomenon of violence, it's actually trans people who are the target in most of the cases, not only, and in addition, there's also information, it's not just about the concrete attacks. There is a huge number of suicides amongst the LGBT community, which is obviously very disappointing. But what's your impression, like when you look around?
I think it's best said with the fact that about a year and a half ago, I moved away from Serbia. Mm-hmm. And one big part of that was that I, as a queer woman, especially someone who has like a large social following, who could be recognized on the street, and I am openly queer, I don't feel safe in Serbia. And that's especially in Belgrade. I spend most of my time either in Belgrade or in Novi Sad. Novi Sad is, I would say, maybe a bit better there, but in general, I just don't feel safe walking down the street. And I can only imagine how much worse that is for someone who's not straight passing like I am, just on the streets in Serbia. It's a scary place.
Because of the, hidden crowd, hooligans, and those who might do something to you and others? Or is it more the atmosphere that you witness as someone who maybe, I don't know, there are statements by right-wing politicians or officials saying this or that, which is not supportive of LGBTQ community.
I think that's all one same thing. Like it just fuels one another, and I think as we say, bullies, but I would say abusers, they're not hidden at all. They do not hide their hate. They do not hide their intent to abuse someone. So it's really, you just, you can see someone looking at you or shouting something at you on the street and public transport. Like, unless you have the privilege to be able to afford to, I don't know, maybe take like a private transfer everywhere and only stick to certain places where you know that the crowd is maybe more progressive, or that you feel safer, you just don't feel safe.
Kristina, you said that in Montenegro it's quite specific. It's not that much about the violence, but then lack of interest in society to support or understand who LGBTQ people are.
Yes, like Daniela mentioned before from her research, it is not the media that are problem now. Even in traditional media with traditional values, you don't have any more hate speech. But what media did, that they passed to social media. For example, in Montenegro, social media are not linked to any media law. They are linked to law about public order. So media are not responsible for their social media. So there, and that hate speech and comments are usually work of NGO, LGBT, trans, and others in Montenegro. That is how they shift responsibility media to social media. And we had, like I said, a law on same-sex partnership, but still we are having about 20 or 30 same-sex partnership, but they are mostly people from the region that are coming in Montenegro, or the people from Montenegro that are not living in Montenegro. Because people are still afraid to put, or just doesn't want to put their personal life in the sphere of media. And what is funny, my partner, she's from Serbia, but she lived in Australia. When she came in Montenegro, she was also afraid not to kiss in the public or to hug. But now, living there for a year, she's more casual with that. And I think it is more about first years of Montenegro Pride. We had a really strong activities of church. But these years, we don't have that strong block of the church. Even we had one trans person that was baptized at church, and that was also, I think that in media it was a little bit sensational news, not in the way of, okay, we are doing that. So in that case, media could make a conflict, but it wasn't. So that is in some kind of situation in Montenegro. But I also know that the trans persons are really now on the first line of the battle.
Thanks, Kristina. Just to alert you, obviously you can take part in discussion. Think of a question. If you have it, just alert one of our colleagues standing or walking by. But obviously we'll continue our conversation first. And I don't want to be pushy about this violence thing, but considering that it is happening, I want to ask all of you, did you experience any kind of, not necessarily violence, like a slur, push, or hate speech comment, so online, and how did you react? What did you do? Filip, do you want to?
Yeah, well, online, the same as in the primary school. And yeah, when I was younger, it really affected me. You know, I couldn't like walk at certain parts of the city where I experienced some like hate speech, and it really like affected me in a way where like it was 2 years I wasn't, you know, like walking down that path. So yeah, people online are it can be like really scary, to be honest, but I choose like not to engage. And sometimes I feel like I need to respond and to, you know, like show them like you're wrong. But I feel like I give them power in that way, you know? I give them power, you know, they're at home alone, like in their like hate bubble, just like writing stuff. And I feel like sometimes you have to respond, but sometimes you just have to like, you know, like just like let it go. Because like sometimes they can feel like empowered, you know, when you respond to them, because they know that you are watching everything they write, you know. So yeah, I choose like sometimes not to respond.
But you feel less pressure now, you know, since you've grown up when these things happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. To be honest, I'm not affected at all. I can say that it was a long time since somebody like said something, shouted on the street. I'm really thankful for that. But yeah, if that happened, I think I would be like, I'd smile to that person and be like, hey, good day.
Wish you all the best.
Wish you all the best, yeah.
Thanks, Filip. Milica?
I think, yeah, online is a very special place. Of course, I think like any other openly queer social media persona, of course, I get a lot of negative comments, I'll put it very lightly. It ranges from, you know, hey, I'm gonna pray for you, to death threats, which I've tried reporting to the police, but of course that doesn't work. For more like in person, let's say, it's a bit different because, again, I'm straight passing, so I'm not that worried for myself. But for example, if I'm walking with my fiance who's not straight passing, then I'm scared for her and for us together. And it's always this feeling of being on edge and thinking, you know, analyzing the situation. Is it safe enough to hold hands, to kiss, to hug, anything like that? So it really is this feeling of being on edge all the time. And then, of course, if it is a queer event like Pride in Belgrade or in Novi Sad, when we had it once, you know, in those events, of course, it's heightened. Of course, we get a lot more abuse. You know, we just heard for the situation where there was the attack after Pride, after Euro Pride. We were maybe 15 minutes ahead of that same group, and we watched them come into the hotel, and we're all, even if we weren't personally affected, we're all on that edge together, and we all feel it.
Yeah, tough. Jonah, your experience is probably very different, but still, I can imagine experiencing some...
Yes. I still live in a society with a lot of people who also have very different opinions. So, yeah, I think I noticed a switch after I started using testosterone that masculinized my physique, my body, my voice. Before that, I was more androgynous, I think, and especially then I noticed that I caused a lot of confusion in people most of the time, not knowing how to address me.
And they're so crazy to put some labels.
Yeah, so it's always, ma'am, mister, oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, when you are not conforming to a norm, people often feel like they have the right to call you out on that. So I've been verbally abused from across the street, but also have had incidents where I was spat on and some kids were throwing rocks at me. So yeah, that also happens in the Netherlands, and again, I think I'm quite lucky to be a Dutch native, a white person living there. I have a lot of trans or queer friends with a migrant background, and their experiences are quite different than mine in a negative sense. So yeah, that happens, and I think for us as Transketeers online, you know, I'm very blessed to have 2 other boys with me who are like my wingman, and I'm their wingman, and we take care of each other and our own mental health. So that really fuels me. Also makes me protective over them because they're my family. And our policy online is to delete all hateful comments. We have 0 tolerance. We are here to share, hopefully, positivity, share some insight in what diversity can look like. If it's not for you at this moment, please go somewhere else.
So no discussion, you just remove them, right?
Yes, when they're truly hateful, then they're gone, because it's our platform and we are in charge of our platform. We feel very strongly about that. And sometimes there are comments that are perhaps maybe not so nicely formulated questions. Or insecurities, or are looking for some kind of knowledge, and we sometimes decide to respond and explain. But I think our work itself serves that purpose of explaining. So and sometimes we last month we had a documentary shown on national TV, and we worked together with a public broadcasting station. And we told them, like, we have a 0 tolerance view on comments, on hate comments, and I would hope that you guys have that too. So please put your moderators on board. And we did see that, of course, there a lot of hate and nastiness slips in. So I'm pushing them to remove them. It's just unfortunate to see. But I think it also takes so much energy away from you, so better just not read them. We don't read comments and delete them.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Kristina?
For me, when I published the first novel within these 4 walls, because it is a lesbian novel, there were comments on the media, but they more affected my sister and my friends. So I needed to persuade my sister and my friends to just let go that comments, because I really don't care about them. And what I'm using my sexual orientation, because I'm a trainer for workshops on hate speech and media and digital literacy, is when we having this conversation with high school students or primary students. When we mention LGBT community, there were a hate speech or comments, and when I said, okay, I'm a lesbian, they just shut up. And then, no, you are kidding us. No, I am. No, you are kidding us. So in that way, I'm actually teaching them that LGBT community is everywhere, just they need to let us in. And at the end of workshop, they are okay. They don't have this prejudice. And most what I see is the prejudice are coming from the teachers, from the principals, from the even psychologists. Because I had a psychology that works in high school that actually still are learning persons that homosexuality is not normal. So actually this generation are not the core problem. Actually these are generation before them, and they are just putting what they teach them.
If I can tag along to that, we definitely see that as well. So we're filmmakers, but we also have an educational branch, and we do a lot of workshops. And at first we thought we were going to high schools, we're going to talk to these children about diversity, and that it's actually always been there, and that diversity is reality, etc. But we noticed the same thing, that the kids are sponges, and again, they have the phone in the pocket. They are way more aware than the teachers, and so we really made a very conscious switch to the adult education, and our focus groups now are indeed teachers or school boards or healthcare professionals. Because that's where the change or the broadening of perspective needs to happen. Because they are the ones that have to guide the children. You know, so they are responsible. We are, as adults, responsible for the children. So, yeah, we noticed that too. And I also do want to say we're focusing on negative comments, hate speech, which should not be denied and should be focused on, because we need to combat that. But I do have to say, and I hope that this is also counts for you, that we also get beautiful responses on our social media. And we are noticing a ripple effect of a group of allies that are standing around us, that are interested in learning, that want to learn more, that want to do the right thing, that maybe feel insecure on how to do that, but they're willing to learn. And they are the ones, so the allies, so to speak, are the ones that have to you know, as an oil stain, like a positive oil stain, have to, how do you say that? Like share the word with other groups that we can't reach, or that don't trust us yet. Yeah. So I do have to say that I feel that there's a huge group, growing group of people that understand our cause and want to help.
We have organically switched to a meta goal mentioned here in the title, fostering acceptance.
Yes.
And obviously you do already, you know, all of you, so much. But still, what do you think we can still at least try or, you know, poke or push? Is there anything missing? Anything that, you know, we can maybe start focusing on in order to reach this goal, to not necessarily make people accept us, but basically, you know, have more tolerance and understanding? I mean, Filip, you're an artist, so you're not necessarily focused on this goal, but obviously one of the reasons we also have you here is, you know, through art or entertainment, you can achieve that as well. So what's your feeling about
I
this?
think definitely visibility in every way. You know, if it's media, if it's music, if it's film, you know, I feel like we need like more queer artists that like queer public can like resonate with. We need like queer director and, you know, like queer politicians and everything. I feel like people from the Balkans, I said, you know, they grew up in this mentality that it's really a bad thing, that it's maybe illness. I feel like they need to see that we are normal, you know, and that queer people are everywhere, you know. As you said, I feel like that is why we need visibility, because, you know, in a room full of people, you know, like, there is, like, a lot of queer people, and you don't even know about them, you know. Some people are, like, closeted, some people just don't talk about it, you know. And, yeah, we just need, like, visibility to show all the people that it's really normal and that it's not, you know, something bad. Because they only see like the pride and what is happening there, like bright colors and everything, and I feel like that's something that's really like bugging them, you know, in a way. So I feel like we need like visibility is the only thing.
Okay, it's same question, but still I will add one more thing. Since you are a queer person, and we have here, although I don't live in Serbia anyway, but we have a Serbian Prime Minister who is lesbian, but it seems like she's the only one who profits. So what's your take on what needs to be done?
Yeah, I don't know if I should comment on Anna. I mean, she's done nothing for the queer community in Serbia.
Zone.
No, I understand. It's just this feeling of, I don't think anything will change from this like top-down thing. I don't think that's realistic for us in Serbia. I think what Filip said is amazing, and exactly like this, we need to be more present. I'm really frustrated by this notion of we have to compromise and we have to like tone ourselves. No, it's because like, oh yeah, okay, there can be this one queer character in this movie, but don't overdo it. Don't be too much. Put too much in it, because if we are not the main characters in books, and if we are not in the movies and in the cartoons and in everything that we don't exist, and we cannot settle for just being tolerated. I wouldn't even settle for just being accepted. Like, we need to be celebrated for who we are. And I think we really need to first be visible. I think social media is doing a really big thing. I think what you guys say about working with parents and with teachers, I think that's a very noble cause. I personally don't believe in it because I just don't have faith in that. So what I think is, but we probably need both approaches. What I think is we need to work with young people, of course, offering a safe space for them and being just, letting them explore who they are, and then also making allies of everyone else. And I think then they will just be the next generation that's going to come up, and, that's how we're going to change it. Although, again, not to say that the work that you're doing with parents, like, I know it's very important because we can't just, like, let this big generation of, parents and kids now just say, oh, never mind, throw it out with the bathwater, the next one will be better. Of course, we need to work with them, but I think for greater change, we really just need to be present everywhere. And I honestly don't care if that annoys someone, because we need to be visible.
I feel like it needs to be maybe too much right now. For it to be a normal thing in the future, maybe it really needs to be like, as you said, like, without compromise.
Yeah, because what is too much, right? Because I'm sure that if you play to an average Serbian audience, if you play to them 10 movies and 2 of them have queer characters, they're going to say, oh, this is too much.
Yeah.
Because I think we label too much everything. No, we have to be too much right now because there's no other way that we're ever going to be actually visible.
I think this too much thing deserves a round of applause. Jonah and Kristina, if you're fine, I would let guests ask questions, but obviously you can add your thoughts on this matter as well, because we have 7 minutes left and it will be unfair to just ignore the questions from the audience. So please go ahead. I don't see a thing, so I will just follow your voice.
Yeah, I have a question for Kristina. Are the authorities aware of the amount of physical and verbal violence towards LGBT people in schools?
In Montenegro, we had previous years like no hate clubs in the schools. But it depends from school to school if they will continue with the project, because mostly things in the Montenegro are projectly based. So when the project ends, there is no project anymore. But there is a really strong combat with the hate speech. And like I said, most of the work are on the NGOs that are working in the area of human rights, because now comments on social media are actually abided by law of public order. So media are not going to press charges and to go to the police and said, look what comment were on our social media. That is the work that is done by NGOs.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristina. Any other questions? I don't... Oh.
There's one.
Yep. This light is really tricky.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. You speak a lot about media representation, and I just wanted to make a comment and a question. We see a lot in films and series and the TV shows, gay and queer people that have a very specific stereotypical persona. So, and at least in Greece, where I come from, it is very common that we see gay men being very feminine, which is very, very stereotypical. So when you speak about media representation and change the narrative, what do you really mean? What's your role in that? How do you fight for a more inclusive representation?
Mm-hmm. Who wants to take this one? Milica?
Yeah, please.
Sorry. Thank you for the comment. I think this is also the part of the solution. Because people are mostly see LGBT community on the stereotype way. They don't have opportunity to say that they are wrong. that there are people who are not in these stereotypes. So when a person like that comes to them, it clashes their stereotypes because they don't have any field to be on it. I was a few years ago in Spain, in Alicante, which is a really patriarchal town, region, but they have same-sex marriages, they have adoption of the children. And what they said to me, when they become visibility of LGBT people, for example, director of their NGO is a gay Roma people, and I said it won't happen in Balkan yet. But what happened when the sportsmen and women came out, and when the public figures started to came out, they had really strong support for their battle. And I think that this is what we need in the Balkan. People, public figures and sportsmen and sportswomen or musicians or the singers that are really famous just to came out. Because all the people are seeing LGBT community as NGO activists, and what people perceive is we are doing that for the money. That is our business. And there is communication stops. Because I know a lot of LGBT people that also thinking like that. And we will have a switch when the people from other professions, from real life persons came out, not just NGO activists.
I would like to address specifically for this, showing queer people as a stereotype in films. It happens, of course, a lot. I think most queer media that we have portrays queer people like that. What I would say, I would rather have that than have nothing, which again doesn't mean that that is good enough. We need complex queer characters who represent the whole spectrum of the queer community. But how many shitty stereotypical rom-coms there exist that represent straight men and women in a very stereotypical way? 1 million. When we have 1 million queer ones, then out of those 1 million, we will also have those that are actually like more quality and more nuanced and more, just better. And I think for what we personally can do, of course, I think, be out as a queer person in a public space. However, this isn't something that's an option for everyone, either because they don't want to, which is totally fine, or because they are not safe to do that in whichever way. But then also just share this media. We get so many recommendations every day for books and films and TV shows and this and that. And just, put some queer stuff in there. they're really good things. So spread the word about it, share it, and then that's how queer media will get to. I feel right now, like you see, oh, there's a new lesbian series coming out. Who are the only people that are gonna watch that? Lesbians. So we just need to get these things more mainstream. Yeah.
But I do have to say again, here I am again with the positive frame, but I think when we, as Transketeers started almost 10 years ago now, there was nothing. There was nothing on media. Maybe once or twice there was a transsexual person still back then. Indeed also very stereotypical gay people in rom-coms or series, what's it called, Dharma and Greg? I don't even know that. Back in the day, I'm a little older. But now, in the past 10 years, and especially in the past 5 years, there's so much more queer content on mainstream stations. Netflix, all these streaming services have an increasing amount of queer content. Not everything is great, but indeed I agree with better more than just one single story, because queer people don't have one story. Men don't have one story. Women don't have one story. So the diversity is needed there, and I do think that there's a massive change happening in media of positive also visibility of trans people or queer people in general. So yeah, we have to keep on doing it, and as filmmakers also, we keep on pushing, not to only indeed show it to our own safe audiences, but also abroad. So we're talking to national television and have discussions with editorial boards who ask us, but where is the normal gay person that people can relate to? And then we're like, this is a queer series. Yeah. The whole thing is that we're breaking a norm. Yeah, so we're having these discussions, and it's taking a while, but I think there's also a shift in generations of people who are on these boards, who are the deciders, and we just have to keep on pushing and talking with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's...
Let's wrap up this... Sorry, yep.
We have a question.
A question, yeah. Okay.
No. No. I would have a question to Filip. Do you think, as a singer, it is more important, or it is the better way just to not talk or not to sing about LGBT and just be, well, more or less open, affiliated to the community, or is it better as a singer really to have maybe one big song, one very popular song, where you can really read the message, yes, it is okay to be LGBT?
Well, I think it depends on who is the artist, and I feel like everybody needs to do as they're like comfortable with, you know. For example, we have Gypsy, who is an amazing artist. He's openly gay, and he sings about it, and I applaud him for that. But again, I feel like there's a lot of queer people, including me, that I don't feel comfortable yet to talk about like those topics in my songs, because I have this problem with media, and generally not in Serbia, but in the world, where if you are a queer artist, let's say gay artist, sometimes it can only be in the media about you being gay singer, and sometimes people don't tend to focus on the production, on the songwriting, on the performance. It's all about you being gay. That's like the first thing, and then the artistry, that should be the first thing, comes second. So that's something that I, to be honest, really don't like. But again, I feel like we need time to process everything, and when someone is ready to, make statements in their music, I think they should do it when they feel totally comfortable with.
And safe.
And safe, yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I add something? When I published the book, I named it lesbian novel, and I know a lot of women and a lot of men said to me, why you label it? Because it is not a novel of lesbians, it is a novel of all of us, of straight people, because it is also a thematic of domestic violence, of poverty and everything. They said to me, no, you shouldn't label it as a lesbian novel, because it is a novel of every one of us, being straight, gay, no matter. And I agree with you. Sometimes it needs a time for artists or whoever to came out on their way. But I said in Spain it was really good support for LGBT rights.
And I have to add, I feel like artists, if they don't release music that are talking about the topics of LGBT, I feel like they're up and coming artists. They need to get people to relate to their music, because if the music is, let's say, like gay, straight people might just be like, oh, that's not for me, And I feel like we need all the public to engage with our content, and then in a few years when we have our public and we have eyes watching us, when we're something, then we can start releasing statements in the music.
Okay. Yeah. We really need to wrap this up. So with more positive thinking if possible. So I'll ask each of you one sentence. It's a bit of wishful thinking. Like if we meet in 2-3 years, what would you like to happen for the LGBT community? It could be anything. I mean, visibility was already mentioned. Anything else?
Damn, one sentence, huh?
Tough question. Okay, I thought it would be easy, but okay. Fair enough. I would go with same-sex marriages here in Serbia, for example.
I was the person who was attacking the law on same-sex in Montenegro because it is not in the field of child rights. You know, for example, you don't have any right to the child that is from the previous block, but you have all the obligation. And that is when we compromise is, okay, children are not the topic that we should talk about. And you see what is going on in Serbia. It is that the partner of Ana Brnabić is not her son.
Yep.
By the law of Serbia. And that is, I think, the topic of children. When we overcome that topic, we are on the good way.
Okay, let's go then with visibility. That's already a huge thing. Thank you for being part of this discussion. So, Filip, Milica, Jonah, and
can I have one? What I wish, I was just thinking, is that I wish for strength in numbers. And what I wish is that we, as a community, we try, my booklet is laying here, that's why I thought it. In Amsterdam, we set up a queer network of 23 very diverse LGBT organizations, trying to, even though we might have different insights, maybe political spaces, migration backgrounds, etc., we decided to work together on one thing, and that's putting the rights of LGBT queer minorities, and especially minorities of color, on the forefront in all of our actions. And in all of our organizations, we back them up. And I think creating alliances, not only in your own town, not only in your own region, but in Europe, for example, is so important to be able to fall back on or ask for advice or invite people to come to help you support in a march or whatever. I think strength in numbers is so important, and that's again that visibility. So that's what I would hope, and that's also a reason why I'm here. You know, to show my face and to say like, hey, like we can back each other up. Yeah, so that.
I think. My sentence would be no queer or trans kid without a family. That's my wish for the next 3 years.
Okay, and I'll pick yours, you know, be gay or queer as much as you want, and if it's too much, it's fine. Thank you for joining us, and for all of you, information that the first half of the program has ended. Now it's lunchtime, and see you, if I'm not mistaken, around 2 p.m. again.